that wind and wander over mountains and valleys, deserts and plains. I guess I've drove about all of them. 'Cause for the past 25 years now, the cab of a truck has been my home. And it'd be kind of hard for me to settle down and not be on the go. Well, I remember the first truck I drove. I was so proud I could hardly wait to get home to show my wife and little boy. And my little boy was so excited like when he saw his first snow. And he wasn't old enough to say too many words. He just kept hollering, "Giddy up go, Daddy, giddy up go." So that's what I named the old truck, Giddy Up Go. Oh, things wasn't too bad. Of course, I was gone a lot. And after about 6 years, I got home one day and found my wife and little boy gone. I couldn't find out what happened. Nobody seemed to know. So from that day on, it's been me and old Giddy Up Go. I've made a lot of friends at all the truck stops, and some of them would kid me about my little sign. Of course, they knew where I got the name, 'cause I told them about that little boy of mine, and how his first word about the truck was, "Giddy up go." Today I was barreling down old 66 when up beside me pulled a brand new diesel rig, both stacks blowing black coal. And as he pulled around and back in front of me, a big lump came in my throat, and my eyes watered like I had a bad old cold. A little sign on the back of the truck that read, "Giddy up go." Well, I pushed old Giddy Up and stayed right on him until the next truck stop where he'd pulled up. I waited till he went in and I offered to buy him a cup. Well, we got to talking shop and I said, "How did you come by the name on your truck, Giddy Up Go?" Well, he said, "I got it from my pop. Dad used to drive a truck. That's what Mom talked about a lot." You see, I lost Mom when I was just past 16, and I lost all track of Pop. Mom said he got the name from me. I shook his hand and told him that I had something I wanted him to see. I took him out to the old truck and brushed off some of the dirt so the name would show, and his eyes got big and bright as he read, "Giddy Up Go." Oh, we had a lot of things to talk about, and buddy, I felt like a king. And now we've just pulled back on old 66, and he handled that rig better than any gear jammer that I'd ever seen. Well, now the lines on the highway have got a much brighter glow as we go roaring down the road, and me staring at a little sign that reads, "Giddy Up Go."
Big Casey, the truck driver. Big Casey is now a hero. Here's a story about Big Casey and everyone who knew his rig. And one thing sure, they all agree, he's bad and he's big. When they made that twin six Jimmy, made sixes side by side, they must have known what a big man wants, and they must have had Casey in mind. Casey topped the mountain, nosed her down the grade, clicked a hidden smile when he checked his watch and saw the time he had made. He had two axles pulling, twin screws a-singing a song. 4 hours early with a 40-ton load, now nothing could go wrong. Ahead he saw a tanker, but what he didn't see was the jockey jump when his air brakes failed and left the binder running free. Casey swore a mighty oath when he saw her pick up speed. If that there jockey lives through this run, he's gonna answer to me. Casey has no scruples. In one word, he was mean. But his heart stood still when a school bus headed for that high octane. He had a vision of their faces, their laughter pierced his ears. His mighty foot then left the brake as he reached for his highest gear. Now the story goes that Casey caught the tanker fast and clean. When the high test took the shock, it put a powder house to shame. And yards away, a group of kids, their eyes no longer gay, saw what was left of a big bad man who died for them that day. These same kids bought a headstone and placed it at his grave. It reads just one word, Casey, from the children that he saved. They parked his Jimmy near the grave with sixes side by side. The critics of the way he lived now boast of how he died. Big Casey, the truck driver. Big Casey is now a hero.
That endless black ribbon means lonesome in the life of a truck driver's wife. That endless black ribbon means lonesome, but you can't change a truck driver's life. I know you're waiting for me to call you and tell you that tonight I'll be coming home. I'm sorry, I've another trip to make, dear. So for 3 more days you'll be home alone. That endless black ribbon means lonesome in the life of a truck driver's wife. That endless black ribbon means lonesome, but you can't change your truck driver's life. I travel this old highway alone, dear, and I'm thinking only of you. My thoughts, my love are always with you, and I hope that you're thinking of me too. That endless black ribbon means lonesome in the life of a truck driver's wife. That endless black ribbon means lonesome, but you can't change your truck driver's life.
Kissed my baby goodbye. She said, Daddy, don't be long. My rig's all checked and it's ready to roll down that lonesome road, boy, long and lonesome road. From the East Coast to the West Coast, from Chicago to L.A., I gotta keep my rig a-rolling, 'cause that's the way I make my pay. Well, I get home once in a while, just long enough to kiss and run. My gal don't think I'll amount to much as long as I'm on the run. When I kissed my baby goodbye, she said, Daddy, don't be long. And now I'm on my way down that lonesome road, boy, long and lonesome road. I wonder what she's doing while I'm out of town. I wonder if she's true to me or if she's running round. I gotta get this load to Dallas, turn around and hurry home. 'Cause if I'm not there when I said I'd be, my baby might be gone. Hear that diesel whining, I'm burning up the road. I hope the cops don't get me, 'cause I'm running overload. Down that lonesome road, boy, long and lonesome road. Down that lonesome road, boy, long and lonesome road. Down that lonesome road, boy, down that lonesome road.
You wanna call her at every truck stop, you wanna cry to a lonely jukebox, sit and stare at the coffee's cold. Old truck driving buddy, let's hit the road. Old truck driving buddy, you're looking blue. You wanna talk, well, I'll talk to you. Bet I know what's on your mind. Sweet gal waiting for you down the line. The last time you saw her and said goodbye, did you notice anything different in her eye? Trip's been rough or you losing your mind. That long, long road don't seem to unwind. Well, you wanna call her at every truck stop, you wanna cry to the lonely jukebox, you sit and stare at the coffee's cold. Old truck driving buddy, let's hit the road. Well, time means nothing when you give your heart. So drink your coffee, it's time to start. That big truck rolling on down the road. The quicker you get there, the quicker you'll know. You wanna call her at every truck stop, you wanna cry to the lonely jukebox, sit and stare at the coffee's cold. Old truck driving buddy, let's hit the road.
Started shooting the pinball and started to lie. For a truck driver's job, I qualified. I got the job and started up the road. I got lost on the very first load, but that's truck driving. Well, I asked a man at a country store how to get on the route to Baltimore. He spit his tobacco with a twisted smile, said you have to go back about 25 miles, but that's truck driving. Well, I got back over on the right route. I wound it up and let it all hang out. It was almost through the Carolina State. Looked at my watch and I was 3 hours late, but that's truck driving. A little farther up across the line, I met some cowboy that give me the wine. I passed another truck and a couple of cars at 60 miles an hour run through radar, but that's truck driving. Well, the trooper that stopped me, his face was frowned. He stood 6'6" and weighed 300 pounds. I couldn't get a break from that hard-boiled cop. He hauled me off to the JP shop, but that's truck driving. I left the JP shop at 4:45. Forgot I was over on my drive. I got to the scales at 9:30, and that's where I paid a big, big fine, but that's truck driving. I left left the scales and went on up the road, and I found the place I supposed to unload. The consignee there was grouching slow. A pinball machine got the rest of my dough, but that's truck driving. I called my boss to send me 50 skins. He cussed and he swore and says, "Where you been? I need you back down on this end of the road. You ought to be leaving here now with another load." But that's truck driving. Well, he made me mad when he cussed me out, so I wound it up and I headed back south. I took a few pills, was running too fast, got on the wrong road and hit a low underpass. But that's truck driving. When I got back home and pulled in the yard, he cussed again and said, "Boy, you fired." Speaking for myself, boys, that ain't bad luck. I'd never get nowhere while driving a truck if that's truck driving.
This is the way that it was. Just as far back as I can remember, I was always hanging around a drafty old garage, getting grease on my hands and feet, smelling the exhaust and watching my dad and brothers tear down an old truck or Model T, picking up a wore-out fan belt or some other kind of souvenirs. Only one thing on my mind, man, I was dying to dig into them gears. So when I was old enough to get my driver's license and permit, I chucked it all. Quit the 11th grade, went into debt to get my first rig. Skipped town several $100 in arrears. Headed down the open highway, eating that concrete coming my way. Brother, I had it made. At long last, I was jamming gears. I got to know all the spots along the way, and they got to know me. I courted the waitresses and the cashiers. I had a line that wouldn't quit. I was king of the highway, a self-admitted heartbreaker on wheels. They treated me to the coffee and I treated them to the beers. Them gals couldn't figure out what went on inside my head. How could they when you and I know there ain't nothing in this old noggin except maybe some gears? Finally set my sights on a pretty little thing south of Ardmore. Every time I pulled away from her place, I had to face a whole passel of her tears. So I says, "Hun, if you don't like my leaving, then you just pack your little old bag and jump on board. Ain't nobody gonna stop you if you wanna flag my rig. Watch old Daddy make her swing. And for some pretty music, just listen to the humming of my gears." Well, I ditched her down in Brownsville. Told her my run would bring me back in a week or two. Man, I was fed up, clean to my ears. Love 'em and leave 'em was my motto. I had tracks to make, so I flew the coop. Turned old Jenny around and headed north. This time I mean to tell you I was really pushing them gears. Latched on to another up in Kokomo. This looked like the real thing, so I popped the question quick. That's what you gotta do whenever old Dan Cupid appears. We tied the knot and rented a place up the road. She didn't seem to mind my leaving near as much as I did. I just made sure that none of my runs took me near Brownsville, 'cause that one down there could surely recognize the sound of my gears. Well, you know that old saying, that bad nickel always reappears. Next night when I got home, there was Brownsville sitting across from my wife. The wife was crying, the other not saying nothing. Nothing now, that is. And don't you know she had said plenty already. What with all the lies she had piled up on top of the truth. She just sat there silent like, her face all covered with smears. I couldn't say nothing either, 'cause inside my head something had already started spinning. They was roaring and they was grinding, and all of a sudden I was at the wheel. We was in a blizzard and a sandstorm at the same time. We was headed down Baker's Ridge wide open and the brakes was gone. The horns and the sirens was blasting my head off. The hood flew off and the motor opened up right in my face. I was diving head first right straight into them whirling, grinding, spinning, greasy gears. Well, that's all of my story, Mr. Reporter. Just tell 'em I'm real sorry for what I done. Think it'll come out in the papers before that old warden appears? If it's worth anything to you, just give it to my widow. Don't know where she is. Just check the truck stops between here and Kokomo. That'll be her sitting there over a couple of beers. And that guy that's buying them, I'll lay you $1,000,000 to 1. He ain't nothing but a crazy mixed up dropout that run away from home to make his fortune eating concrete and jamming them gall-dane greasy gears.
He was heading into Boston in a big long diesel truck. It was his first trip to Boston, he was having lots of luck. He was going the wrong direction down a one-way street in town. And this is what he said when the police chased him down. Give me 40 acres and I'll turn this rig around. It's the easiest way that I've found. Some guys can turn it on a dime or turn it right downtown, but I need 40 acres to turn this rig around. When he finally found where to unload, he had a dreadful shock. His trailer pointed toward the road and his cab right to the dock. And as he looked around him, through his tears he made this sound. Oh, give me 40 acres and I'll turn this rig around. Give me 40 acres and I'll turn this rig around. It's the easiest way that I've found. Some guys can turn it on a dime or turn it right downtown, but I need 40 acres to turn this rig around. When he finally got unloaded, he was glad to leave the town. He was very, very happy going back to Alabama. When up ahead he saw a sign said, "You are northward bound." He said, "Give me 40 acres and I'll turn this rig around." Give me 40 acres and I'll turn this rig around. It's the easiest way that I've found. Some guys can turn it on a dime or turn it right downtown, but I need 40 acres to turn this rig around. He was driving down the right lane when ahead he saw a sign, and he had to make a left turn, but he could not get in line. And the tears were streaming down his cheeks, and they all heard him yell, "Give me 40 sticks of dynamite, I'll blow this thing to give me 40 acres, and I'll turn this rig around." It's the easiest way that I found. Some guys can turn it on a dime or turn it right downtown, but I need 40 acres to turn this rig around.
Somewhere down the line, I'm waiting for that Big Mac number 203. 18 wheels rolling, gonna bring him here to me. I'm a waitress in a truck stop by the Alabama line. Trailer trucks come by all the time. The drivers all wink at me, and I like that fine. But when it comes to loving, there's just one guy on my mind. 18 wheels rolling, that diesel's open wide. My truck driving man's coming somewhere down the line. I'm waiting for that Big Mac number 203. 18 wheels rolling's gonna bring him here to me. From Mobile, Alabama, he's from Bristol, Tennessee. A truck driving man's all right with me. I don't want a millionaire who's in society. I want the guy who drives that truck number 203. 18 wheels rolling, that diesel's open wide. My truck driving man's coming somewhere down the line. I'm waiting for that Big Mac number or three. 18-wheel's rolling's gonna bring him here to me. 18-wheel's rolling's gonna bring him here to me.
Soon I know I'll be taking my last short ride. I want you to promise you'll stay by my side. My Lord's gonna call me in just a short while, but I want you beside me when I ride that last mile. We lived a lifetime in just a few years. We had our sorrow, our joys and our fears. The love that we cherished, that was ours for a while, will be locked in my grave when I ride that last mile. Come and visit my grave with some flowers in your hand, and smile through your tears just as long as you can. Then when God calls you home, I'll be there with a smile. We'll be together forever when you ride your last mile. We lived a lifetime in just a few years. We had our sorrow, our joys and our fears. The love that we cherished, that was ours for a while, will be locked in